Andrew Hogue here for AndrewHogue.com, being Australia's only 24/7 rock metal radio station. And I guess we can call these guys somewhat residents. They've been to Australia many, many times. We had them in Australia for Soundwave in 2013, released a stunning new record as well. And things are just on the up for the band constantly. So we're going to get acquainted with Mike D from KILLSWITCH ENGAGE. Quite busy between riffs shoveling snow in his home in Massachusetts. So we're going to say g'day to Mike now. Welcome to AndrewHogue.com.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the interview. Thank you.
No worries. And like I said, you've been to Australia countless times now that it certainly would feel like maybe a second home of some sorts or an exotic holiday for you as well. Fill us in on just how...
a second very expensive home.
Yeah, it
That's
is
for sure. You guys are way overpriced with your meals down under.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, it's seems to be a sad sign of the times, unfortunately. But let's talk a bit about how things have been with Jesse back in the band, which has been well over a year and a half now at least. And the Descent record obviously was welcomed quite heavily and critically acclaimed as well. From chatting with Jesse and, of course, Adam at Soundwave last year, it just seemed like a natural step to have Jesse back in the band. And what has the reaction been with, obviously playing previous material? Because Jesse was sort of talking at the time that he finds it difficult to sort of delve into some of the back catalogue that Howard used to play. Has that settled for him now?
Well, Howard had a much different range than Jesse did, but he likes to make things his own, and there's a lot of songs in the back catalog that he is really gravitating towards. It just takes a little while to learn them. We have so many different songs, but we're constantly adding new ones here and there and having him try different stuff out and just seeing what is comfortable with him. It's funny that you said he's been in the band a year and a half. We just found out it's been 2 whole years. It doesn't seem that much, but that's only because the guy is awesome to be around and a really great dude to just hang with in general. Us old jaded guys are on the road. This is our 15th year as a band, and we've kind of seen it all. We've been everywhere. And now we have Jesse back in the band, and he really didn't get a chance to experience any of that stuff with us. And now he's seeing it through new eyes, and we are kind of seeing it through his eyes. So it makes everything just like fun and cool again. So we're just having a blast hanging with him. As far as the critics go, things have gone really well with the new record. We're excited to be coming back there and to be able to tour even for as long as we've been touring on this record. Doesn't happen a lot, so we're just grateful that the fans still believe in us. Pretty rad fan base we have here.
Times certainly have changed with people's attention spans and so many different bands coming out now. And of course, you guys have been at it in the game for quite a number of years. As you mentioned, Jesse seems like he's definitely igniting some of the members of the band who may be falling a little bit jaded. I mean, how do you keep things fresh considering how much the band has done? And, what do you feel about the next sort of generation supposedly sort of kicking down the door and wanting to, take over somewhat?
Well, yeah, it takes a long time. I mean, some bands go up and it doesn't take so long, but they seem to fizzle out pretty fast. I welcome it. Come on, show us what you got. Let's get some new metal out there, something really good, There's nothing like taking a genre and putting your own spin on it to take it up in the next level. And I think we're still waiting for a band to kind of do that with this metalcore thing. We'd really love to see somebody else kind of twist it in a different direction for sure. As far as us keeping it fresh, I don't know. We just do what we do. We're pretty harsh critics on ourselves, and most things land on the cutting room floor rather than come out. So hopefully, up till now, people have trusted our judgment because they've liked our record. So I think we're just going to stay the course and keep on doing what we've been doing, just being really harsh and trying to churn out as best fist-pumping metal as we can possibly muster.
Now, when you mentioned about sort of waiting for another band to sort of come on and twist things up, I mean, the hard thing I'm finding, especially the amount of music we get sent here at the station, is quite immense. There seems to be a lot of bands who sound very much like one or two major bands, and that's it, which really shows that they obviously are influenced but don't always have their own identity. Have you discovered any new bands in the last couple of years that you think are, on the up? I mean, any bands that you could recommend within the scene? Do you think it's becoming stagnant? Even though the technology's there, supposedly, do you find that originality is lacking in any way? Fill us in on how you view it, and maybe any bands that you can suggest we check out.
See, I'm the oldest guy in the band, so I might be the wrong person to ask what new bands are good this year or are coming up. Because I just really listen to the old stuff that I listened to growing up. A lot of New York hardcore, Madball, Agnostic Front, Leeway, Cro-Mags. I love Bad Brains and stuff like that. And there's absolutely nobody really churning out anything new as far as that goes. But the quickest way to kill a genre is to have too many imitators and just so many bands that it just overflows the thing. I felt like there was a sort of a giant rush of a bunch of metalcore bands, and they kind of have washed away, or maybe it's subsided a little bit, and maybe some of the main players have stayed up and weathered the storm, so to speak. There are definitely bands that carve their own way, but really the way to bring a genre up to the next level is to add new elements, to inject your own style, not just listen to what other people are doing, but to actually be as creative as possible and add that new spirit that sometimes genres lack once it's been watered down quite a bit.
I remember Phil Anselmo said one of the greatest quotes I've heard in a hell of a long time, that he's talked about, the approach to newer generation bands, and when people ask him, how do you get successful and all that sort of cliche questions. But his point was perfect when he said that, rip off 30 bands, not two, because eventually with that 30 band list, you'll eventually have your own sound, because things will not be as recognizable. I know some people want to play their favorite influence and things like that, but, once it gets to sort of two bands only, you really realize that, you're kind of a carbon copy of about 50 other bands. It kind of happened with the new metal sound, I guess, with Korn, who to me created something completely different, and then that got saturated when that band rose to massive success. Do you think?
A lot of that makes a lot of sense what you're saying. I mean, that was really how KILLSWITCH formed, was copying 40 or 50 other bands, or having each member have their own specific influences and bringing them together, not necessarily ones that gel so well either. And that's how we built this thing. So he's a smart guy.
Now let's talk about those tour dates. Of course, you are coming with Kill Devil Hill as well, and the first show kicks off on Friday the 11th of April in Brisbane at Eaton's Hill, Saturday the 12th of April in Sydney at the University Roundhouse, Sunday the 13th in Melbourne at the Palace, Tuesday the 15th of April in Adelaide at HQ, and finishing in Perth at the Metro City on Wednesday the 16th of April. I guess, like I said, you've been in the game for a number of years, and KILLSWITCH definitely have a huge fan base in Australia, a very dedicated one as well. What sort of advice can you give to a lot of bands out there that have adopted a sort of KILLSWITCH sound in their sound, and, do you encourage them to try to, be influenced by other bands as well?
Absolutely. No, listen to if you're a true fan of music, you're going to listen to more than one genre. And that will help a lot in branching out and finding your own identity, really. None of this stuff forms overnight, so relax, take a breath, maybe get a job and work on the music as a side project for a little while. Don't get so intense about it. I guess that's the one thing is, you don't really have to take yourself seriously to make it in the business. We're living proof of that. We don't take ourselves seriously at all.
Well, it seems, as you said, you've definitely made a good point there. We have some amazing technology today that's well beyond, majority of people pre-internet's wildest dreams. It seems that a lot of people rely on it so heavily for an instant success, purely because the media is shoving down people's throats that, you can do something retarded and all of a sudden, bang, you're an overnight sensation. So I think a lot of bands tend to sort of chase some of that as well. But do you believe in the old-fashioned, the hard slog, and that's the only way that success really comes forth, big or small?
Tour. If you're expecting to make any money in music, which is a rarity, tour your butt off, have those shirts, put out a CD, put it out yourself. Probably make more money if you put it out yourself. And just do it. DIY. Do it yourself. And don't let anybody else tell you what to do. If you have the money to do something like that, do it. If you need to do a Kickstarter, I suppose you could beg for it, but, all this stuff comes from hard work, not from begging. So
you've raised a good point, because I've interviewed a lot of bands about the Kickstarter or crowdfunding approach, and some say that it sort of is the way to go. But there are so many different ways to go about it, which can affect the fans who. I mean, some fans are completely crazy that they're willing. I mean, some bands have had amazing results through such things, but do you believe that it's just the way you go about it for that option, or you just don't believe? I mean, would KILLSWITCH ever do something like that?
I could never see us doing something like that. I could never see myself being in a band that does anything like that. Not that it's a bad thing. I just don't. I don't see eye to eye with, like I said, begging for money on the internet.
Yeah.
It can help a lot of people who don't have the money to put out something like that, and if you can give something back to your fans, all the better. If the fans believe in you that much, then they should have the right to give you money, I suppose. But it's nothing I would be associated with.
Quickly talk a bit about Death Ray Vision. How's things coming along for that band? Of course, you released the record last year, and is it just more of a fun project? There's nothing serious going on with it that's going to affect the KILLSWITCH
Exactly.
empire?
I had written a bunch of old school kind of hardcore stuff, and I approached Brian Fair from my old band Overcast just to see if he wanted to play some bar shows, have some fun, maybe do some covers of old songs, kind of bring back the heyday of what we had when we were kids. And he loved the material, and we put out a record on Bluetooth. We've done some touring and stuff like that, and we're talking about doing a new record at some point soon. So it's just a really fun, old-school, hardcore project, and it's a great way to get out some aggression as well.
Good stuff. Well, we've been given the wrap-up, so we can get you to say a couple of last words to the Australian fans before you hit Oz. And I guess with the amount of amazing back catalogue music that you've had under your belts with KILLSWITCH Engage, we can get you to choose one of your favourite KILLSWITCH songs of all time.
I'd really like Bid Farewell. It's a super fun one to play live. We've been playing it a lot live lately, which we haven't in a while, and maybe it's just because it starts with bass, I don't know. But it really is pretty impactful for me. It's a fun one to do. Bass
solo, take one. Thanks for your time, Mike.
Thank you.
No worries, and we'll check out some KILLSWITCH now. And
thank you so much, Andrew. I really appreciate it.
Anytime,
Have a good
man.
Day.
Back to the shovel.
Okay. Bye.
See ya. No worries.